families and were very, very close together in the service. And one of the couples lived in Charleston, and one thing led to another, and another person by the name of Pete Hoybach, where'd you go? Back at room, Colonel Hoybach came down and talked. And in the process of that conversation, we both said, you really want to have Pete's wife, Maggie, come down, because it would make a very interesting presentation. So she goes by Margaret Hall Hoybach.
On my painting.
It will need to be called Maggie.
Yeah.
So we'll go through that. She started painting when she was very young, in her early teens. And 60 years later, she is still doing it.
40 years old.
Yeah, 4 years old. I guess that's a very nice thing.
And 80 years later.
She wants to make sure that everybody knows that some of her sketches have been done on trains, on planes, on boats, and in hot air balloons. So, she is internationally known. She has spoken in over 4 continents and over how many 26 different countries around the world. And she has a book called Colors in basically Monet's Garden. And she'll speak to that in just a minute. So with that little background, I just want to make sure you know we are very close friends. We have been close friends ever since we were in the Air Force together. In fact, we're all going to be in a reunion in another month and a half. So let me introduce Maggie Hoybach.
I just want to say, we have that book, and I forgot the colors book, and I forgot to bring it.
I got a copy.
Oh, you did? Good.
There's one up here.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming so much. It really brings my, I feel better. I did a program down in Jacksonville, and a week before they had a party, and everybody got sick from the flu. So I had 8 people at my program. So thank you all for being well and coming. And I want to thank Ginny and Pat for hosting my husband and I. He did his program. I'm going to do my program. So it's really good to be here. I've come to Hilton Head since I moved to Charleston 45 years ago. And I would teach. I met a wonderful artist by the name of Cecile Purcell, who was up at Hilton Head Plantation. And she got me coming down here to do workshops, and I would do this speaking program for the Hilton Head Women's Association or something at a big hotel. And the room was set up, I was on stage, and I had all my original paintings on easels surrounding me because I was talking about them. I was also going to do a painting during that time. But at some point during that presentation, I happened to hit the end easel, and they went down like dominoes in this very elegant setting in the dining room with these 300 people. But anyway, I got through it, so hopefully that won't happen today, unless my bear knocks him over. So, but we need to get on to the serious topic at hand today, which is, what is it? Oh. Does anybody know how these things work?
Fine, we hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Super. So we need to get on to the serious topic at hand, is why were most of the great artists throughout history men? We can picture these bohemian male artists in their studios, waiting for inspiration, drinking their favorite bottle of wine, and cavorting with their probably female nude models. Meanwhile, Mrs. Picasso, Mrs. Monet, and Mr. Gauguin were home, Monsieur Gauguin, were having the babies, feeding the children, and doing the laundry, and all those things we women have had to do forever. Well, thank heavens, the 20th century arrived, and women liberation came. And hundreds of female artists came out of the closet and became full-time artists. Where's my hat? I have a blue sequin smock, but it's awfully hot, so I didn't bring that. So, but unless you can talk your husband into having the babies and doing the laundry, etc., then it becomes quite a juggling match. And I always ask myself, did these men ever have to do the thing a normal woman will do throughout her lifetime? So, did Picasso ever drive in a carpool? I think not. Did Monet ever have to bake cookies at 2 a.m. in the morning because his child forgot to tell him it was his birthday week at school and he had to have 4 dozen cookies by 6 a.m.? Not. Did Van Gogh ever stop in the middle of a sunflower painting to take his dog to the vet who had gotten into a fight with the other family's dog? Well, I don't think the artists that I have mentioned know the meaning of the word stress. Stress is when you have 3 children under the age of 5. They all have the chicken pox, and your washing machine goes out also. And their father, my husband, who was an Air Force pilot, comes home 3 weeks later and tells me he has been flying Miss America and her entourage around the South Pacific on an extended USO tour. This is stress and grounds for cutting off his ear or quite possibly something else. Now, the artists I have mentioned are known for their famous painting periods. Picasso had his pink and blue. Monet had his haystack series and painted all the beautiful paintings of water lilies that I absolutely adore. And Gauguin went to the South Pacific, to Tahiti, and painted all those voluptuous women. Now, I don't think any of my paintings are going to change the course of history, nor am I going to cut off my ear to prove a point, but my painting history of 60 years, 65 years, because I started painting on the walls of my house when I was 4. My mom did not get mad at me, so I just kept on painting through my early years. But my earliest period of painting was after marrying Pete and being in the Air Force, and you were supposed to put the thing on. I didn't give you the signal. All right, remind me, I have to give you the signal. Keep going. Go to the next one. There we go. All right, and then after that, go to the... So I started painting, us being associated with all the pilots. They wanted a painting done of their history in the Air Force. They wanted the plane they learned in. They wanted the fighter they flew in. They wanted a transport. So I painted all these different, for people. And go to the next one. Please. So this is a close-up of one of the histories of their flight, flying in their Cub or their transport or their fighter jet. And this happened to be one that had the Citadel in it, so I put the tower of the Citadel with the cadets marching their gold ring. And the pilot's point, which goes something like, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and flown on sunlit wings and reached out and touched the face of God. Somebody knows that one. Anyway, so I did the plane paintings. Can you go back? And one of the, I did some murals for the Charleston Air Force Base headquarters, which were these down here, which were 6 to 8 feet long. This was of the new C-17 that flies all the cargo missions that the 140, which Pete flew, took its place after this one got old. And this one was flying.
Penis or hubby?
Yeah, I introduced Pete. Okay. So I went up in a little tiny airplane so that I could get the view of Charleston Peninsula coming out from behind the clouds to save myself from painting thousands of buildings in Charleston. So I put the clouds in. But, and during this period, I also was the sesquicentennial artist of the Citadel, which was the 150th celebration, and I did a collection of paintings for them that they wanted for the school. And this poster, which my two sons went to the Citadel, and so I got to know the cadets pretty well, and I asked them, tell me your favorite things about the Citadel, and not that they had many because they were new people, they were, what do you call those, the people coming in, the plebes. And, but they gave me what they wanted, and I put them all together in a painting, which was like a collage, a big pot of vegetable soup, and it was quite fun to do it, and especially while my boys were there. So the second, while I was there, we were outside of San Francisco, and this is where I didn't tell you about the playpen. So my children were still under the age of 5, and their friends would always come over. I was trying to learn watercolor because they hadn't taught watercolor at my college, where I had just painted in oils. But I could do a watercolor during the nap time of all of my children, which gave me time to sit down and do a little painting. So I started out painting very, very small to get the hang of it and to learn how to put down watercolor washes. Well, that was fine when they were asleep, but if I wanted to continue painting, they're running around the house and their friends are there. I got one of those big expandable playpens, which normally people put in. Remember those? We used to use those. I don't think any young people now today put their children in a playpen outside. But I brought the playpen inside and put it around a table, and I got into the playpen, and the children had the run of the house. And that was the only way I could have peace and quiet and not having children get in and ruin my painting. Although my 3-year-old was very adept, and I remember him, I came back one time and I found that someone had painted on my painting that I was doing, and it was the 3-year-old. Anyway, so that was my playpen period. We then left and went to slide. Pat. Keep going. Oh, that's the mural with the C-17. So it's a big close-up, which was great fun. Citadel, keep going. I'm falling behind. Okay, so we got to, now we're in St. Louis at, thank you. Thank you. I had a senior moment there. To Scott Air Force Base. The children are all now in elementary school. Yay! So it's the feet of the first grade teacher when I dropped them all off. And I had lots of painting time then. They had a festival where people were touring historical houses, and I decided to do a review of about 8 historical houses and painted them. And then people wanted me to keep painting their house, particular house, in whatever season they wanted. So you can see up at the top, there's a church, Mepkin Abbey, and these are all, of course, when we went to Charleston, all of these architecture and interiors, number 2 Meeting Street. And I became known as the lady of the streets. I would sit on a little curb stool. This is not to be confused with ladies on the stroll. They made much more money. Anyway, so after being at Scott Air Force Base for 7 years, we came to Charleston Air Force Base, which was an absolute dream come true for an artist. And it was just wonderful. The kids are all in high school now, getting ready to go to college, and I had all the time in the world to paint. And I would still do the houses on the streets of Charleston, which they are just so beautiful and exquisite with all the gardens around them. Slide. Oh, that's a close-up of one of the paintings, which was on along the harbor. What's that? I can't think of the street. No, not Broad. That's one. What? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Bay Street. Okay, next. Another one. That's just to somebody's home. And they could pick the season they wanted. Oh, that's a close-up of the Citadel, which of course is in. I would paint the face of the ring to whatever year they graduated. And one person ordered 5 rings. Their son had gone, their great-great-grandfather was one of the cadets that bombed Fort McHenry? Sumter. Thank you. Fort Sumter. McHenry is where I grew up. All right, next. So, this is where my painting took a turn. It's called Inspiration to Interpretation, Capturing the Moment. And this started me painting on close-ups of nature. For some reason, instead of painting the whole vineyard scene, I wanted to paint the grape leaves. And instead of painting the whole mountainside, at the top you can see that burst of color. Well, that's the way it comes into my mind, the upper left painting. Just color splashed. And then we stopped, we were driving through the mountains, and then we stopped at a rest area, and I started letting it form trees. But the way I wanted to paint it was a close-up. So I wanted to have this look with the leaves up close. These were grape leaves, and then all the rest were just regular leaves. This was an abstract. This is a cover for Island Scene in Hilton Head. Do you all still get that magazine, or is that gone? Yeah. Well, that was on back. That was one of the covers in 9 because I was in a gallery here also. So capturing the moment, it was the precursor to my journaling career, and I'm coming up to that very, very shortly. Slide, please. Okay, that's a detail. Now, a lot of this painting is done by beginning washes and then negative painting, where you paint the dark you paint the dark before you put in the surfaces of the yellow and the red, unless they've been part of the underpainting of washes, which is a, oh great. Oh, dear. Oh. Pat?
Just use your regular voice and talk loud.
Okay, I
Didn't
can.
tell you to talk loud.
No, I don't, because I use hands. You know, well, I might have to just use my voice. Are we fine? Okay. Now I can't remember where I was. So the negative painting forms the grapes, and then I can go back, and the broad colors of the big leaves were all put on with big wash strokes. And you'll see this at the end. I have a 5-minute video of painting start to finish that came when I had a PBS series in Washington, D.C. for 2 years, and after Bob Ross died, who painted the Happy Trees. And I did a whole bunch of tutorials for that station, which was great fun doing that. So the close-ups in nature, if you have time afterwards and come back, you'll see that I tackled, and painting leaves is one of my favorite, particularly after I started painting in France. And I lived in a vineyard. And so I would just go out and sit in the vineyard and paint leaves and the grapes starting. So, all right, so we're in the 90s now, and that really was something that was, I'm trying to figure out where I am. Oh, so in the 90s, lots of things happened. Number one, Peter retired, and the kids were all in college and graduating and going out to make their way in the world and procreate and giving me 6 beautiful grandchildren. There we go. And so in the beginning of the 90s, my good friend was the one that suggested we go to Monet's Gardens, and I've already talked about that. Afterwards, these are all pictures of painting in Monet's Gardens. And I told you it just made me cry being there because it was so sentimental for me after growing up, looking at Monet's paintings and just looking at his paintings, and the fact that I could sit on his bridge and paint. That was really exceptional. So the other thing that happened during this period of time in the 90s, I started my journaling career because when I went to France, I couldn't paint fast enough. I ended up, I had taken all this big sheets of paper to paint on an easel, which I carried on the plane, a huge easel, like that size, but metal put together. Can't do that now. So I had taken sketchbooks along, and I couldn't paint a big painting fast enough because we were on the move all the time. And I had these sketchbooks, and I said, okay, I'll do a quick sketch. I'll be able to then go back and do a painting. And so, like, this is the book 4, and this was from Monet's Gardens. And I would just sit there and paint until the light changed. And it was just so magical. But I had no idea that this would take me on a totally different course in my art. I loved painting big paintings. I loved painting big paintings like this. And that was one of the things that changed in my art career, was the size of my paintings. Because to learn watercolor, I had painted everything this size or smaller to learn how to paint the flowing color that I always put in on my paintings as an underpainting. Just like I did in that grape leaves that I'm showing you up on the board. And so what I'm showing you on this marsh scene, so I started painting small, then I used a bigger brush. This was like a number 10. Then I used a 1-inch brush or a 1.5-inch brush to do this size. And again, I paint nothing is sketched out. Not the birds, not the tree, not everything. So I just put washes on this painting with reds and yellows. And then the second wash comes in and I put the trees, which, what are they doing here? Reflecting into the bottom. I'm losing my mic, I'm losing my hat. I'm losing my mind. Okay. All right, so then I started, So then I started using a 2-inch brush, and then I would do what is called a full sheet watercolor. And a full sheet, it's got ragged edges around the side. I think I have to turn that one down. But again, same process, and all I had to do was use a bigger brush, and then the size of the paper didn't matter. Well, I wish I had brought these brushes, because a 2-inch brush is this size, and you feel like you're a house painter, and I would go over this painting. Now the birds and the moon, I would make a stencil, and I would wash this out with a toothbrush. Same thing with the birds. I would draw them on my cellophane paper, which was stiff, and then I would take my toothbrush real fast, not the one I used at night, but another one, and I would draw them on the drawing, and I didn't even draw them. I would just brush them out and have the white come onto the paper, and then I would paint the shadows on the birds. Hello? You are being very cantankerous.
They can hear you.
Oh, they can? Okay, well, all right, I'll try it one more time. So that size painting was the 2-inch brush. Then I started painting, this is another one of the full sheet. So this was one of the few times I loved painting people, which was in France. And there were just too many opportunities to be sitting at a cafe table and not paint the people that were there. And this was really quite fun to do. So you sat there drinking wine and painting other people. Of course, you ran the risk then of the wine overcoming your un verre de vin, un verre de vin, un verre de vin. And then, où est les toilettes? Où est les toilettes? Okay, so then I got a 3-inch brush, this big. Oh, and I got 40 by 60 paper in a roll. Big sheets, big paper. And that's when I started painting big paintings, which were like, now, This painting is done the exact same way, and here, I'll put it up here so I can say. So painting something like this so that you can put all those back washes on is really tricky. You have to wet this paper down. I also wet the back of the paper down. And then oh thank you, would you hold that? And these were the reflections of the trees in the background. And I had sketched the birds because they were very big. So I was able to not paint the birds while I was putting in these washes. So I painted all the yellow, red, the blue-greens down. Afterwards, I would put in these reeds in the water. I would paint in the reflections here. And then the very last thing was I put the shadows on the birds and, you know, their eyes and beak and whatever. And then I used a little tiny brush to sign it. But so the bigger I got, I painted a lot of massive paintings this way. And I found a way to cover the paintings with a matte medium so that, or you could use gloss, and then I would not have to put glass on them. It would cost like $800 to put a sheet of glass on this painting. So the one, I have a lot framed that are just the front, and they don't fade. So thanks, that's good. So that takes us from the size of the paintings, which was great. Now I have to remember where I am. So, we were talking about the 90s. So this was when I ended up, Peter said, you know, go in your studio, paint all you want. Remember in the beginning, did the artists ever take over for their wives? He didn't have any children, but we had already had the 3. So
Peter is her husband.
thanks, Jim. And whatever. We instead of the kids are gone, I said, I don't want to go in the studio with a nude model. Let's just go travel. So we started traveling, and that's where these 76 books came from that I did, which allow me to travel quickly and do the sketching and then do the paintings afterwards as big as I liked. The third thing, and probably you might think this is very silly, I had never had a stuffed animal growing up. I guess it was the different age. But your kids get them all the time now. But Peter got me Teddy for a Valentine's Day present, and his name is Theodore Van Gogh. I named him after Theo's brother. Okay. Whoops. This thing is becoming crazy. All right. All right. Teddy has been around the world and then some. We traveled with him all over the world into different countries. He is, and all those pins represent where he has been. And Teddy was not just a stuffed animal that people would laugh at or whatever. One of the things in the 90s that I did, I became the art director for a children's cancer camp. It's called Happy Days and Special Times in Charleston. And we would have 200 children at camp in July, hottest time of the year, and the 200 children would be there and would have the time of their life. And Teddy, I brought him up, and he was great. I gave him to the little girls that were 6 and 7, and they dragged him around camp, took him swimming, put suntan lotion on him, sprayed him for bugs, and he put up with it. But he would come home and be very, very, very sticky. He also made hospital visits for children that were in the hospital, and I even took him to Air Force bases and Navy bases in the United States and Europe. And they'd say, we want you to come to the elementary school, and I would do programs for the kindergartners, the first graders, the second graders, the third graders, all the way up to 6. And depending on their age, I would make the program suit their age. But they love Teddy. I also took his wardrobe with me. So he has an entire wardrobe, and you can see his pictures in the back, where he's all over here, where he's all dressed up. And probably his biggest adventure was going out on the destroyer LaSalle that was in the Mediterranean. And the captain of the ship, you can see him up here on the ship, and he's swabbing the deck. So the captain said, well, I think his mission is just very, very special because of the cancer children. And he said, I said, can I just take a picture of Teddy on your ship for his album? And he said, no, I'll do you one better. I'll take Teddy out on the ship when we go out next week with the Italian Navy. And he said it'll give the guys a lot of fun with the bear around. So they put Teddy in all of these things, swabbing the deck and rescuing him from an inner tube where he was drowning. He got to run, push the wheel for the ship, just did all, and they took pictures of all of it. The one that Nancy...
He's skiing.
Yes, he's skiing. And the one that, yes, he would be on my back when I would be coming down the slope. Now, people would come up all the time and say, we want a picture with the bear. And so then I would turn around like this. So they would take a picture of my butt. But Teddy was the important thing at that point. So anyway, it was something that just was so meaningful that I wanted to keep traveling, because I would then show the videos and the movies of Teddy to the children at the camp. And because they couldn't go out and do a lot of things, they really loved seeing the bear doing all these things. So at the camp, he came in skydiving with a group that always came for the children and would jump in. And they had a circus come, and they took Teddy up on the high wires, where you can see him on the trapeze. So he doesn't just sit around and be fluffy. He does a lot of things. So here we are now. I'm closing down now. Here I am in my 80s, and I said, okay, I'm in my Grandma Moses period. What am I going to do now? And I said, okay, I'm writing Teddy's book. I'm writing The Adventures of Teddy, or postcards from Teddy on his trip around the world, basically for my grandchildren. And the second thing I started doing was, I can't remember that second thing, but the third thing I started, I'll just skip the second thing. The third thing I started doing was, let's see, is that one of the pictures, slides? Let's go to the church. Keep going. Keep going. Wait, no, you're going backwards. Okay, forwards. This was a very large by pieces. This is Monet's Gardens. Keep going. So this is one of my journals of out west in France and Hong Kong, around the world. They're on the table up here if you want to take a peek. Oh, here we are. So go to the next one. Oh, so that was during my PBS series in Washington. You can see Teddy on the screen in my film. All right, next. This is what I'm doing right now, is this program. But I didn't wear the silver on it. So, and I would do a painting for start to finish. All right. One more. So, go back. That's part of the book. So, Somerville Presbyterian Church art. I went to a church which was 300 years old. I had come down with the Presbyterians from up north, came down, and they had this building in 1696. And then that one was destroyed, and they did this one, which was later on about 70 years. And this was our present building, which was built by 6 families in 1895. And this was in honor of the 300-year celebration.
No, they did. They wanted to keep it
For
down.
the church. And then the past 2 years, I started, can you go back now to the, can you go backwards?
He's going back, I have to tell you, we have known Maggie and me since the 60s. Long time.
So, I don't know if we'll find it, so I started doing bulletins for my church. And that was like 4 years ago, and I would do the Lent series, I would do Easter and after Easter, Pentecost. Got it. Now I would do Pentecost, and then other ones during the season. And it became so fulfilling, and they wanted all the originals which they hung in around the church. So that's what I'm doing in my final years, and hopefully I will fall over on the painting and be very happy about it. So I want to thank you, if I never, thank you all.
Yeah,
You feel so much
Maggie had
better.
that video.
Oh, what? 5 more minutes, can you turn on the video? If you want to stay and see, it's 5 minutes of full sheet painting that I do.
Well, Joy is looking that up. There may be some questions, but I have one for you.
Yes,
I understand you spent some time in Germany.
yes.
Anybody in this room ever get arrested by the security police?
Yes.
How did it happen? Tell the story.
Okay, we were going, whenever I travel with Teddy, especially on a base, a military base, I always try and get Teddy in front of the gate where it has the name of the base. Well, this was right after 9/11. And so they, this is when they put blockades up in all the military bases around the United States, but also in all the countries where the United States had the base. So anyway, we go down, I'm with the general's wife, who is the supreme commander at the base, and we went down together to prop him up at the gate. Well, they were expecting, the military police were expecting an incident that was planned, that was just to make sure the guys at the front were aware that they weren't sleeping on the job, so to speak. So they're waiting for that, and nothing's happening, and then these 2 women show up with his bear, and we put him down, and Teddy's just sitting there, and he's in his flight suit, which is decorated with all the military badges. It was Peter's flight suit that she donated. And I put him down in front of that, and we start taking pictures. We were immediately surrounded by all the military police with their guns and bayonets pointing at us. They didn't want to hear any explanation. They took our cameras, they took our IDs. They neglected to look at the ID that they had just arrested their boss's wife, which was not going to go over being in that household. So there we sat, and I'm holding Teddy on my lap, and I'm going, remember Hogan's Heroes, I'm going, I know nothing. I do not speak under threat of torture. I am just hysterical. And she's going, Maggie, you're making things worse. Don't do the accent. Anyway, all of a sudden, the real incident starts, and these people are dressed like hippies, and they're in the courtyard where we were, and they're being obnoxious and taking movies, which is absolutely verboten. So they got arrested, and they were spread-eagled on the ground, so I guess we came out unfortunately without having that happen. And that's when they noticed that they had arrested the journalist. And then they were all, is there anything we can do to make your day better? Here are your IDs, here are your cameras, and is there anything I can do? And I said, yes, I would love for you to do something. I want you to hold my bear and shake his paw, and I want you to smile. This was this big 6-foot guy, and he's going, and he took the bear. And so that was the saga of the only time that Teddy has been arrested. So are there any other questions? All right. Pat wanted me to tell that story. Oops. Oh, Teddy. I'm glad it didn't pull my shirt off. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Are there any questions? Oh, I would like to ask my husband, please, to stand up.
It won't have to reach
Because-
the disc.
Please stand up.
Oh, that's your hand.
Peter has been my knight in shining armor for 60 years. Did the laundry, did the cleaning, and has taken me around the world. And I owe this all to him because there wouldn't be this program if he hadn't schlepped all this stuff and back out. So thank you again. And if there are anybody that wants to ask questions, please see me here. Thank you, Jessica.
Any other questions for Maggie?
Oh, this is the 5-minute film they just put on.
It's too fast. It should be slower.
So this is painting a sheet. This is a painting on a sheet that is this big. Okay, and start to finish, so these are the washes that I'm putting on the paper and the main colors. So the paper's very wet and everything, of course, is very blurry. It's like a photograph that's a Polaroid that's out of focus, and gradually the painting will come into focus. So I'm doing this areas at the top for background, and the yellow and some of the blues are the background. So I'm still using the 2-inch brush to put on, and there I'm going to switch to a 10. And I'm pulling out the whites. I don't like to use white paint, so I just pop it out with a Kleenex, or I paint negatively around it. This painting was done, this scene was done at Magnolia Plantation. And they had given me a golf cart to drive around carrying my producer with me, who was going to film this production. And they said, be careful, the gas pedal sticks. So I'm driving around, I don't know whether anybody's been to Magnolia Plantation, but I drove around to the back of the house, heading toward the river where my producer was standing. And halfway there, the golf cart gas pedal did stick, because I let up on it and I wanted to slow down because there were people along the sidewalks. And it was not slowing down. And I started going, the river is 6 feet away. Of course, this is in a split-second thing. And at the last second, while I'm crossing the sidewalk, I jump. And I end up on the bank going down toward the river. The golf cart sails out of the water and turns over and sinks. And I crawled up the bank, covered in leaves, and the people that are standing around, they look at me and they go, do you do this every day for entertainment? You know, like you're at a Wild West show? And I'm going, no. Needless to say, they were grateful I wasn't killed, but I never got to drive the golf cart again. Not that I ever would.
Finishing touches.
Anyway, so that's the story of this painting. How I ever painted it because I was shaking. I had to hire a crane to get it out. It was very expensive venture. So now I'm just starting to do positive painting where I'm putting in the wisteria and the leaves.
Starting to get serious on the leaves.
I wish we could fast forward. It's almost over.
Isn't it all that faded?
Oh, I
But
look
the
at
white
it
is
is
not.
smaller brush.
That's what I'm looking for. That
Positive painting again. Negative painting.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. Thank you.
I did use it such where I lost it. Yes, that was wash. I just did it on one or two glosses, which it faded. I'll show